Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. As far as stimulus is concerned, the big question I've been getting from our viewers and subscribers is, what exactly does President Trump want at the end of the day? We know where the Senate bipartisan group stands. We know where House Speaker Pelosi stands. We know where the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell stands. But where does the president stand? Remember, prior to the election, the president had said he wanted a big stimulus, even larger than the Democrats. Since the election, the president has said he wanted a big and focused package. Now, what does that actually mean in terms of dollars? What does that actually mean in terms of a check in the mail for you? Because at the end of the day, for you, my viewers and subscribers, it's about putting food on the table. It's about keeping the lights on. It's about making rent. So let's take a look at an interview that was conducted today with the White House Senior Economic Advisor Larry Kudlow on his favorite network, Fox. And let's listen to what Larry Kudlow had to say about what the president wants and what the priority is. It's very clear that the White House is not going to do a big bill. In fact, to use Larry Kudlow's words, they're not going to do a gigantic $3 to $4 trillion bill. By the way, I don't think $3 to $4 trillion was ever seriously discussed. The most serious discussions that were taking place before the election were right around $1.9 trillion. So I think it's interesting that Larry Kudlow, the White House economic advisor, just throws out a number like gigantic $3 to $4 trillion. But he did say something interesting. He said, let's repurpose the $600 billion. And my understanding was it was closer to $550 billion. But, Larry Kudlow said that it's almost $600 billion from the CARES Act. Remember, this was money that was essentially taken back from the Federal Reserve by the US Treasury. And this is something that was actually essentially going to be repurposed, reallocated in the $908 billion bill. But guess what? The Senate Majority Leader has other plans. Let's listen to what the White House is saying, specifically the White House Senior Economic Advisor. And when you watch this, you'll realize that the White House Senior Economic Advisor with President Trump, there's President Trump, is essentially, again, like before, in one planet. Then we have the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell in a different planet. And then we have the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in a completely different planet. I think that, like I've said before, I don't even think they're on the same planet. I think they're in different galaxies. That's really what I think. And it's shocking that we are still here in December after all these months after the election. But here's where we are. And listen, I want to be clear. I try to present you with the truth. I try and present you with the actual news. So, I'm hoping I can give you good news, but let's listen to the White House Senior Economic Advisor say there will not be a gigantic bill. Let's repurpose $600 billion. And then I want you to watch this video all the way through to the end because there are some key revelations, some new information we haven't heard before from Larry Kudlow. But first, let's see the first segment of his interview today on Fox.
Back stimulus showdown, a bipartisan group from the House and Senate unveiled a roughly $900 billion compromise, offering a route between House Democrats' last $2.4 trillion bill and the Senate Republicans' recent $650 billion proposal. This new proposal sets aside $288 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program, another $180 billion for unemployment insurance, and $45 billion for transportation. Joining me right now is National Economic Council Director Larry Kudlow. Larry, it is always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for being here. We just heard from Andy Biggs from Arizona. He said he doesn't think anything gets done in the lame duck. You would know better. What do you think?
I think right now, by the way, thanks for having me back, Maria. Happy Thanksgiving and so forth. I think I don't want to make any predictions. What I know is that there's discussions going on up on the Hill between committee chair people on both houses, on both sides of the aisle. On our side, Secretary Mnuchin continues to handle the freight, and he is in constant discussions. I do not think there's going to be any gigantic $3 to $4 trillion assistance bill. I think that's off the table. Our view hasn't really changed very much. We still would like targeted assistance for PPP, small businesses, some unemployment assistance extensions, some help for airlines, other small businesses, schools, anything related to COVID going back to school. Mr. Mnuchin, as you know, has pulled back. We're going to abide by the CARES Act. December 31st, some $550 billion or so will be returned to the Treasury as per the Congress. That will be extinguished. However, and this is really the key point where we are, we would like to repurpose that money and repurpose it to key areas such as PPP, small businesses, and unemployment assistance, and maybe some direct checks mailed from the Treasury Department to those who are having a rough time. So let's repurpose that money. It's right there. It's a big chunk of it. It's nearly $600 billion, actually.
So we can see the priorities of the White House right there. Speaking of priorities, one thing I've learned in business and in my personal life, this is actually something my mom taught me. It's not just important what an individual says, It's actually even more important what they don't say. Now, notice in the remaining segments with Larry Kudlow, he doesn't talk about the need for stimulus. He does not talk about the fact that a lot of our fellow Americans are struggling to put food on the table, struggling to pay rent, struggling to keep the lights on. Instead, he talks about, I quote, a booming economy. He talks about a housing boom. He talks about a high savings rate. He actually talks about consumers having, I quote, hoards of cash. And he talks about doing away with the liability protection that these large social media companies, these tech companies have. I'm not making this stuff up. You can actually see this stuff for yourself. And keep in mind, this is the White House senior economic advisor. So he does represent President Trump. He does represent the Trump administration because he essentially is in front of the world on Fox almost on a weekly basis with the essential agenda, if you will, that the White House wants to project. Whether you agree with it or not, that's for you to decide. I'm a citizen reporter. Let's take a look at the second segment with Larry Kudlow, where Larry Kudlow says, and I quote, "The economy is very strong. Let's avoid government shutdown on December 11th. And he said, it's time to pull back the liability shield for these tech companies because they have a lot of protection. Now, keep in mind that President Trump's main channel, if you will, to reach his followers is Twitter. And so President Trump obviously wants unfettered access to his audience, as do many other social media, icons, if you will. But the important thing here is the focus of the administration. The important thing is what Larry Kudlow says and doesn't say. Let's take a look at this segment and you can be the judge.
So why repurpose it, Larry? And what does that mean? I mean, does that mean that a potential incoming administration does not have access to that to allocate it the way they want to allocate it?
Well, look, they can't. These are congressional laws. This was done by the CARES Act last spring, and with some small amendments along the way. There are other things going on right now regarding appropriations bills and maybe a continuing resolution. But again, these are laws. This was the intent of the legislation, December 31st. Now, there's nothing that prevents the Congress, from working together in a bipartisan way to provide some further assistance, maybe another 3 months, maybe another 6 months. I see it rather more as an insurance policy for the economy. The economy is very strong. I keep reading in the major media organs how bad the economy is. It just isn't so. Take a look at the numbers. Maybe we'll get to that in a moment. Yeah. But I'm just saying we're not in a political game here. We're not trying to limit or tie anybody's hands. Mr. Mnuchin has said several times he's just abiding by congressional laws. And you have this money that wasn't used, right? And call it $600 billion. Why not repurpose it and use it?
Secretary Mnuchin is also talking about avoiding a government shutdown. I want to get your take on that. He answered questions on Capitol Hill yesterday about whether the government is going to reach a deal to avoid a December 11th shutdown. What do you think about that, Larry?
Well, I think the Secretary and I definitely would like to avoid a shutdown. I think a lot of people would like to avoid a shutdown. I mean, what's happening here is you've got discussions about an omnibus appropriations bill that might fund the government for the next year. That would probably be a very good thing. You've got various ideas regarding continuing resolutions. It could be short-term or long-term. I prefer the omnibus bill. You've got the National Defense Authorization Bill, which should go through. But again, President Trump here has intervened, and I think very importantly, this whole business about liability shields for the big tech companies, for the social media companies, they should probably have a pullback on their liability shields. Right now, they're getting a free ride to be editors and publishers and to censor certain conservative messaging. We don't like that one bit, and the president believes the NDAA is one way to amend that and make it better.
Now, in the third segment, things get even more interesting. Larry Kudlow talks about the fact that the continuing unemployment insurance claims are down. In other words, less and less people overall are continuing to be on unemployment benefits, despite the fact that many more individuals are now starting to apply for unemployment benefits. So Larry Kudlow said continuing UI claims are down. In other words, the number of people staying on unemployment insurance is down. He said consumer spending is, I quote, very strong. He also said, and I thought this was interesting, huge hoards of cash. Consumers have huge hoards of cash from a high savings rate, and he talked about the housing boom. Let me know in the comment section below whether you have huge hoards of cash. I mean, is it raining money? Let me guess. Is it raining money? I don't think so. I don't think we have huge hoards of cash, but Uncle Kudlow believes we have huge hoards of cash. Let's listen in his own words. Let's roll the tape.
Earlier this hour, we saw the ADP number come out, 307,000 jobs added to the private sector. That was below analysts' expectations. Have things weakened in the month of November, Larry?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that's a good indicator of monthly jobs. at all, with all due respect to the people that put that together. Look, we're seeing, continuing claims, including pandemic claims. Those claims have come way, way down. In fact, I think they're nearly 2 million down from the last jobs report, roughly 1 month ago. We get a new one on Friday for the month of December, as you know. Look, across the board, this is so important because people keep telling me the economy is weakening. Look, consumer spending, very strong. Consumers have huge hoards of cash from a high saving rate. We had tremendous CapEx, ex-defense and so forth, transportation. Durable goods orders, strong. Shipments, strong. That creates jobs. That creates higher wages and more gross GDP output. Housing, we are still very much in a housing boom. Mortgage rates are actually slipping down a little bit at the long end. Inventory is low. They're going to have to be rebuilt. That process has just barely begun to meet the demand for automobiles and other consumer goods. I see a very strong economy. As you know, the Atlanta Fed GDP Now model is looking for 11% in the fourth quarter. That's their estimate, not ours. I'm just saying, though, that shows you how far they come. I think they started at 2 or 3%.
And in the final segment, and I did want to mention this as well, he said, well, we do have to talk about, the virus, so let's talk about it, almost as an afterthought. And he did say, and these are the words from Larry Kudlow, the virus is a challenge. He called it a challenge when it's a lot more than a challenge, because a lot of people are dying. In fact, I wanted to share a quick story about what's happening in my home. I was actually late on filming my videos today, and the reason is I got a call at 11 p.m. last night from my kid's school, and I was informed by the private school that one of the children in my son's kindergarten tested positive. As a result, the school has to essentially quarantine, has to shut down that class, not the entire school, for 2 weeks. So my 5-year-old son is home. Now, my 2-year-old daughter, who goes to the same school because it's a kindergarten plus a daycare, we decided to keep her home as well. So it's completely, it changes lives. And I know that the experience I'm having is not, it's not as bad as what millions of our fellow Americans are feeling. But the point I'm trying to make is that this is affecting almost everyone that I personally know, including my own personal family. So again, let's get back to Larry Kudlow. He said, the virus is a challenge. Christmas season, I quote, could be tough. I think it's going to be a lot more than could be tough. We must mitigate, and help is on the way, and that the vaccines are coming, which, by the way, is the light at the end of the tunnel, because I do believe the vaccines will help the economy get back on track. Before I show you the segment, let me emphasize again, whether you take the vaccine or not is not important. It doesn't matter to me whether you take the vaccine, so please don't comment below about, oh, I'm not going to take the vaccine. Nobody cares whether you'll take the vaccine except you. The vaccine is important to get the economy back on track. So, that's what Larry Kudlow is talking about. But let's get back once again to the focus or the perspective of the administration as far as the vaccine is concerned. Let's roll the tape.
Now, we should talk about the virus for a second. That's a challenge. We're getting some improvements in the northern Great Plains and the Rockies. On the other hand, the two coasts and the Sun Belt, not so good. At the Vice President Pence's COVID task force meeting yesterday, our experts warned that the Christmas season could be tough. There may be more spikes in COVID. Let me make 2 points. Number one, we must mitigate. Masking and distancing and hygiene. That is correct. That is so crucial right now. And that works. Number two, help is on the way.
That's it, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comment section below of Kudlow's comments. You'll find a link to the entire interview with Kudlow in the description section below. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I really appreciate you watching. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. Get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000. That's 70000, and you'll get added to SMS alerts list. If you want, you can also get added to our email list. Simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts, and then you'll get added to our email list going forward. The Ignition Time channel is about the country, it's about the economy, and it's about your money. We cover topics that are important to your bottom line, that are again important to the country, important to the economy, and important to your money. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle, if you want to get breaking news and alerts from us, is also ignition_time. So make sure you follow us on Twitter. Now, sometimes YouTube does not always send out notifications on time. So all you have to do is simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition_time. That's youtube.com/ignition_time. And then you'll have bookmarked our channel, and you can visit the homepage of our channel and then essentially watch our videos at any point in time that you want. If you learn something new from this video, please consider sharing it with friends and family. You'll always find a link to all of our resources in the description section below. Please comment below, participate in our community. Our community is vibrant, it's growing, it's intelligent, it's bipartisan, it's respectful, and chances are you'll make some new friends in our community. Finally, if you learned something new from this video, please consider clicking the like button. Please gently ignite the subscribe button, ignite that notification button, because the name of our channel is Ignition Time. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.